Go live in 3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Around the Hub. I have with me Mr. Sim Gaming Network. Thank you for taking time out of your day to sit with us, my friend. Appreciate it.
Absolutely, not a problem.
Well, we're going to open the door on up and just introduce yourself. Tell the people who you are real quick. If they don't know, which they should, but if they don't know, tell the people who you are.
So I'm Sim Gaming Network. I create content on YouTube, Twitch, for Madden, 2K, MLB The Show, maybe upcoming Maximum Football, NCAA football. Basically, sports video games. Just try to come up with realistic simulation style gameplay for those of us who like to play against the computer and have a realistic experience and just pretend we're a GM or a coach and don't just always want to play online against other people in that experience. We just want to have a realistic experience against the computer.
Right. Okay, so that leads me into this next one because I'm pretty sure Smoking Jay, the old man, told you that it's weird how it all kind of worked out because we used to come to you for sliders. You and Mr. Jacob Reed. It's kind of wild how this whole thing started because where we started was Madden Leagues. And now we are. So
Mhm.
being able to sit down and talk to you. So my real first question is what made you pick sports games and sliders in particular? Because that's a niche audience. There's not really too many that does it well. So
Yeah.
what made you pick that?
Well, so for years, going back to the early 2000s, not early 2000s, late 2000s, 2008, 2009, I got started in Operation Sports. I actually started, following Pasta Padre over there, who's on Twitter. I talk to him as much as I can. He does his own thing. Is really cool, and just got really involved in Operation Sports. I used to go on it daily. They used to have some features they don't have anymore when Steve was still the owner, and I really, really enjoyed everything in Operation Sports. And I played sports video games my entire life. I've just grown up on sports video games, and so I would just constantly want to find something real. So I went from looking for sliders over there to I felt like I wanted to kind of create my own thing. I felt like everything I was finding wasn't really that great, and I'd always be frustrated. So I started making my own. So I got started on Operation Sports, just posting sliders, and it took several years before me to gain some notoriety over there, and I started getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and I just started getting to the point where I get um, a significant amount of views, and I just decided that it'd be fun to start posting some of the work that I did on YouTube. I hadn't started a YouTube channel at this point, but I was just like, throw some stuff on YouTube and I'd start to get some views on it a little bit. And then it just kind of spiraled into, you know what, it'd be really fun to just make content on YouTube. I see all these other guys do it. So let's just try it. Let's just start putting content out. And I just kind of went for it. I started grinding on it, and I really wish that I'd started about 6 to 7 years earlier because I feel like I really missed my opportunity to like really kind of blow up because now there's so many people that do it, you
Yeah,
know. But yeah, I just pushed hard, and then I kind of pulled away from Operation Sportsman. It's become a toxic place,
it is.
and it's just not the same. If you were over there like when I started in 2008, 2009, going through, it's completely different, and of course, whenever you post your information over there, people don't watch your YouTube videos. And so, how do you get views and new subscribers if people are just, on Operation Sports? So I've stopped posting my stuff on Operation Sports for the most part. I might go back and start posting just my YouTube links for people to go and watch it. But yeah, I got my start at Operation Sports, man, and that's kind of how it delved into like, hey, let's start a YouTube channel.
Well, see, you just answered two questions I had right off the rip. So, Operation Sports really was your startup. You said you wish you started in 2008. Let's just play the hypotheticals real quick. You would have started in 2008. Would it have been the same games that you're covering now, or would you say your library would be deep? Because I saw in the interview that you did with Smoking Jazz that you say you cover games that you know. Like that's why you don't do FC or FIFA. That's why you don't do NHL. So
Games that I played my childhood and high school
right.
competitively. So I was a three sport letterman, in high school for basketball, baseball, football. So that's the main sports that I play and have understanding of. I got into golf later on. Unfortunately, there's no golf for PGA Tour, so there's no one really interested in what I have to offer in that game. but I never played hockey growing up. I played soccer on the playground, but not, competitively where I know the rules or anything like that. So making content for FIFA or soccer is just not in my wheelhouse. Same for NHL. I've played NHL a couple times with friends, like whenever it's gone free. I enjoy their EASHL mode, but I'm horrible at it. I'm not very good. And although I've started to get into hockey recently, as far as watching and enjoying it, it's just not something I'm knowledgeable enough to even know, like, hey, this is how I would make a slider set for this. This is what needs to be fixed from the game. I don't have that wherewithal. So I'm just going to stick with basketball and football. And you already kind of foreshadowed a little bit. MLB The Show, man. I don't even know if that's going to be my repertoire anymore.
See,
It
that
should.
that upsets me because I do come to you for some MLB stuff, and let's get into that a little bit. Let's actually pivot straight into that. So we know for the past 6 years, at minimum at least, for franchise
Mhm.
players, it hasn't really changed too much, right? For the
No.
grand scheme of things, other than like scouting, which I don't really count that as too much. As I mean, it's cool, but it doesn't really change the core mechanics. So with the way that they're progressing this year, with their feature premieres lacking, with them doing 2 storyline modes, with us getting a 30-second gameplay trailer today. Come on, SDS, you gotta do better. But so this year's
It
probably
was
not gonna
getting
be the
dragged in
market.
the comments, by the way.
Yeah, oh yeah, no, it's not just the comments, man. It's I have seen big YouTubers that literally never poop on the game, like ever, like
Mhm.
never take the game negative. They're worried. They're scared because they've never seen marketing like this. Like this is the first year we don't get the tech test.
Mhm.
We didn't get any gameplay except for 30 seconds right now. We don't know. We don't have a
Mhm.
feature premiere this week. We have one more left before launch. So let
Which
me.
this gameplay that
But
they showed today, it could have been MLB The Show 21, it could have been 22, could have been 23.
it could
What
have
about the gameplay they showed today? It makes it, oh, that's 24.
nothing. You want to know what's
Nothing.
worse? I saw it pointed out that it was just snippets that we'd already seen. Like if you really watched
Mhm.
that 30 seconds, they took pieces from the feature premiere and just
Mhm.
smushed them together and made a 30-second trailer. So I ask you
Mhm.
this. I ask you this. So you already saying on the horizon that you're probably not going to be covering it. Do you see this being a really down year for MLB The Show? Like the projections of
100
where it is now?
100% because they refuse to give us a true next gen version of the game. They insist on keeping it crossplay between old gen and current gen for online. And
So
I don't
weird.
know if it's because of player base or what, but I don't think it could be player base anymore because now the game is on Xbox.
And the Switch.
So and the Switch, exactly. But the only next gen upgrades we have are faster load times, 120 FPS, and Stadium Creator. That's not what's worthy of what these systems can do. I'm sorry.
No,
It's not. The graphics, like I said, today's comments, oh, still using PS3 graphics. Like the graphics are the worst of any sports games out there, for sure.
period.
Period. There and it's just like, yes, the presentation's pretty good and they have pretty strong gameplay for the most part, but they don't give us a lot of the other things. And you went back and talked about franchise mode. 2016 was last year they had online franchise, like a
Oh
full
my
online
god.
franchise. They brought it
Online franchise.
back, but they do not give us fantasy draft or anything like that. And for me, I don't play online. People ask me all the time, "Hey, let's do Madden online." Well, the reason I don't play Madden online is because I like to play realistic simulation football. And whenever you play other people, they'll do cheats. They'll try to do it. They'll use. I hate people that use for the linebacker and cover areas that the linebacker's not supposed to cover in that defense and do all these things that are just unrealistic because they know that they can abuse animations because Madden's built on animations and we'll do whatever it takes to win. And if you and that's why there's things as money plays, in Madden is because of the animations that are given to you in the set play that you pick for offense and defense. And so I don't like playing against users because I like to play a simulation way. And unless I can guarantee that the other 31 people in the league are going to play realistically and not try to abuse the game for the sake of a win, I won't do it. And 2K is the same way, right? You can do things in 2K and abuse things in 2K that make it unrealistic. And so that's why I don't really play people in 2K 5-on-5. Like I'll play my career or whatever and I'll go competitively there. That's fine. But full 5-on-5 in
Like a
2K,
league setting, yeah.
yeah, yeah. It sounds exciting. Dude, the idea of an online league for both Madden and 2K with with people. The idea sounds great, but getting people to play the right way, when it's the right way, simulation based and realistic, and not try to spam at all costs to win. That's what's difficult. MLB The Show is the one game I don't have to worry about that.
I'm about to break your heart.
How?
Do you want to know how they brought back online franchises? You know how they did it?
Oh,
Do you know
horrible!
how
I
they
tried
did
to
it?
do it last year.
They brought
I
it
tried
back
doing one last year.
for Diamond Dynasty, right? Only.
Mhm.
That's the only way you can do it. Or you can play regular rosters. There is no off season. There is no progression. There
No
is
fantasy
no
draft.
nothing. No fantasy draft. No,
Mhm.
you can do trades, but that's about it. Your players don't progress, so you basically play the same season over and over again. So that
Yep.
you just hit the nail on the head for me. I was going to ask you about online leagues because you do so much sports games. We got our start in online league. That's really where we cut our teeth at first.
Mhm.
And where we found out is as long as you have the human element, the factor to win at all costs, you're going to have those cheese plays and money.
Yep.
We
Yep.
this year, the first time ever, we did a completely simulation league. I don't know if you've heard what that is, but that's basically where you control all the roster moves, your depth chart, your coaching stuff, but you let the sim happen. Like you watch the computer play the computer.
Now, do you come up with specific sliders for that?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. We don't play default
Okay.
sliders on that. We one league we have with abilities on and one league we have with abilities off. So I don't know if that's something that you could be looking into at some point in the
I
future.
prefer abilities off 100% just because, and I did talk about this at the beginning of Mad 24, and I mentioned it, and Sim F Ball Critic even like made a video. He made a YouTube video talking about it too, like how the abilities, although the idea is good and it's implemented well in 2K, albeit a little too much, right? Um, when you compare abilities and badges, if you want to call them in 2K, all the badges and abilities in 2K are just boosts. So you have a better chance of making a catch and shoot, a better chance of breaking your ankles, your defender's ankles, etc., right? It's all just improving your chances. It's still a chance. It's still a little RNG, little skill time into it, whatever you want to call it. Madden decided that their abilities are going to be full on arcade. And I have no problem with them being arcade, but if they're going to be arcade, keep them to MUT and don't bring them in franchise, or make a separate set of abilities for franchise. Because having a perk like the Gambler where you cannot be intercepted, no matter what, is
Omaha.
unrealistic. You're speaking in absolutes. There's no such thing as an absolute in sports. Having a perk where you cannot fumble, cannot fumble, no matter what happens.
I completely agree
It's
with
an
you, man.
absolute.
I completely agree.
And so that's why I say abilities have to be off. There's some of them that are good. Some of them that say like there's one of them for running backs where it increases their chance of doing a fake out. I'm fine with those. Increases your chance of block shedding, increases your chance of creating pressure, whatever. I'm fine with all those because it's not a guarantee. It increases your chance. But Madden has just way too many that it just puts an absolute in the game. And it's like if you're going to have absolutes built into the game, how are you claiming organic gameplay?
You're not. You're
You
not.
can't be.
I am so glad that you brought up ability because this is a question I've had that I wanted to ask for a little bit ever since I've really dug into you and working your background and sliders and stuff. And this might sound a little tinfoil now, but
Mhm.
we discovered this year that even with abilities off, some of them still seem to trigger. Have you noticed that? Like some of not the X Factors now, but I'm talking the superstar abilities. Like some things just happen that's baked into the game. Like example, like George Kittle. You know how he has like not route tech, but a mismatch or whatever,
Mhm.
and he's hard to cover. Like some of those things are literally built into the game. It feels like to us, and I wanted to ask you that because I know you put quite a few hours into breaking that kind of stuff down.
Mhm. It feels like so, and I did this on my last slider video. I talked about it because I switched for the gameplay inside Madden franchise from simulation to competitive after Mike McFadden, formerly Mutt Guru, reached out to me on Twitter because of a video I posted complaining about the artificial speed boost on All Madden, where Like I had a pick six that I was running back, and my guy with like 93 speed got chased down by the quarterback, Kenny Pickett, who had like a 76 speed or something like that.
Oh man, does that?
And I was way out ahead. Madden does that, right? And he explained to me and talked to me. He wrote out, that's why I switched to competitive. But also, if you look at in the description that Madden gives in the main menu of the differences between arcade simulation and competitive, and you look at what it says for simulation, expect the unexpected. Or it says some stuff right there that really it almost implies that there's scripted moments in the game. It really does. When you look at the definition of what it says for simulation, players play true to their ratings. Penalties are called frequently. We know that's a lie. Penalties aren't called. But it just says, like, expect the unknown, or it says something really weird that just really makes you think. This is like saying that just random stuff's going to happen. And then you think about it. Okay, how many times have I been up on the CPU like 28-7 and they just make a roaring comeback and I felt like I had no control?
A
Or
lot.
sometimes vice versa, but most of the time it's you're in complete control and then they turn around and just bring it all the way back. And it again, that does happen in real life, but this feels like you just had no control and it feels scripted. And when you look at the definition of what simulation is supposed, the experience you're supposed to get in simulation, it kind of goes hand in hand, which is why I switched to competitive game mode. Now, do you get penalties on competitive game mode? Not really. But do you get them on simulation mode? No. So you're not really losing much fatigue. Do you get a lot of fatigue on competitive? Not nearly as much as on simulation, but do auto subs and fatigue work in general? No. So you're really not giving up much. You're not really giving up anything. But I will say switch to competitive game mode has gotten rid of that feel that you talk about of these abilities are triggering anyway, or things that are completely out of your control. I think it's all tied to them wanting to create this experience, and they almost force it in you through coding. That's why people have claimed for years the game is DDA.
So I think that brings us to this because I think Madden is the only game that I know of that has 3 different game styles in one engine.
Mm-hmm.
You have
Yep.
arcade, competitive, and I've always went with the argument that you can't have all 3 in one.
No.
And what you're doing is you're trying to fit triangles into square holes and circles into triangles, and you're trying to make everybody happy. Which what you end up doing is making the game worse. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna ask this: like, if you had a magic wand, let's just say a magic wand
Yep.
said, "All right, what's the direction you're gonna go with Matt? What
Mm-hmm.
would you do? Like, it'd be like, I'm gonna strip this down. I'm gonna get rid of the frostbite. Like, what would be the course of
Yeah.
action to reset it?
We're going straight back to Ignite. Now, I mean, obviously Ignite's dated, so it would need to be
Hey,
updated. But the Ignite engine was where we had real-time physics.
I just played it.
And
It was great.
yeah. What game did you play?
I played Madden 25 and Madden 16.
Next Gen Madden 25 or the PS3 version?
I played it on my Xbox S. Next gen, I'm assuming.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, the Adrian Peterson on the cover one.
Yes. Yep.
That game holds up, man.
It does. It's great.
It really does. The graphics aren't there. Like the jump from 25 to 15 graphically is insane. But even on 15, which I played a little bit recently, the gameplay is really, really good foundationally. You have real time physics. It's really good.
Not to mention what we lost, like the presentation stuff. We're gonna get into all that later. But from a pure game, like there was a play I had yesterday, and I'm gonna just spit it out. So I had a defender actually come back and play the ball. How often do you see
Mm-hmm.
that in Madden and in the newest Madden? You don't. They'll stay in their bubble and won't come
Mm-hmm.
back to the ball. Something as simple
They
as
went,
that.
they went to Frostbite, and it dramatically improved graphics. Yes, but the claims. You think about this too. This is what we lost when we went from Ignite to Frostbite. We lost real time physics. Number one. Number two, we lost presentation because when they left Ignite to go to Frostbite, we lost the Jim Nance, Phil Simms, CBS style presentation.
So
We
good.
lost all that, right? It was so great, so
So
good.
good.
They could have continued to build off that. It's frustrating. The weather that we had, the weather effects 25, 15, and 16, how the snow accumulated, the snow looked, the fog, rain, everything compared to now, night and day difference.
Yep.
And we're supposedly supposed to get dynamic weather and all this. Snow has looked the exact same since Madden 17. It just sits on the field. It doesn't accumulate. All the lines are perfectly like it's just like
You don't get
you have
any of it.
all the hash marks are perfectly like the field's perfect other than there's some snow here and there and all the places you don't need to worry about. It's pathetic for a weather game. Um and then they switched to XP based progression, which I don't know whose idea that was. Oh, you get better. Your players are going to get better for how they perform in games.
They thought the RP system, the role playing element, would have been good for Madden. Which in theory, if it was done correctly, then it would have been great. If it was done right, but it was rushed.
But
Why? For what?
you can't have XP based progression that now dictates how you play the game. Okay, breakout scenarios.
Yeah, I'm not.
Your guy is going to go from a normal dev trait to a star dev trait if and only if in this game he rushes for 150 yards and 2 touchdowns. So guess what the hell you think you're going to do that game?
You're gonna run the ball until you get your stats.
No matter what, win,
No matter what.
lose, draw, you're because you want that dev trait upgrade, and he can he could get that star dev trait, and then the next 6 games he could run 100 times total over the next 6 games for 100 yards. Doesn't matter. As long as he did in that one game, there's no realism to it. And so the game planning is the same way too. You get unrealistic, you're forced to play unrealistically. And then I don't like the emphasis of focus either. So I like the idea they went with it, but it's like, okay, we're going to focus on running the outside. So now suddenly our inside running is not very good. That's not how it works.
I'm built like that.
That's not how it works in the NFL. You take away, now, yes, yes, if you take away the underneath game, you can get burnt over the top. I agree with stuff like that. But there's not ones where it's like, hey, we're going to try to run the ball outside. That's our emphasis. But that means we're not going to run the ball inside. Doesn't make any sense.
Never.
Yes, if you're going to contain the quarterback, your pass rush is going to take a hit because you're not trying to rush the quarterback. You're kind of keeping him in the pocket. That one makes sense. But some of the other ones that they have makes no sense. Like, we're going to attack the middle of the field, but that means our deep balls aren't going to be as good. Or it's just, their way of trying to achieve balance just does not.
It's a two-edged blade too. Because let's say you do all that weird stuff and get your superstar X Factor dev, the regression's crazy in the game too. Because you can have a quarterback just because they're 30 plus years old and hey, he has a great season, 3,000, 4,000 yards, 20 plus touchdowns, and he'll regress, lose his dev and everything. Just because he's at an age marker. Like, it's got some weird bubble within Madden that does that. So, I don't understand it. Make that make sense.
I hate the XP-based progression. I hate that your players only get better because they performed good on the field in games. That makes no sense. So you're telling me if I have a 75 overall quarterback and he goes out and he throws for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. He does that a couple games in a row at 75 overall. Because he did that, now he's better? No, he should get better from practices. And they used to have it in the game like that, even going back to Madden 15. And I don't remember Madden 16 because I've been going back and playing these older Maddens, right? I know for Madden 25, your practices, you'd actually go into a practice facility dome and you'd practice scenarios. I don't know if you had 25, man, fired up. If you go to practices, you practice certain scenarios that if you beat the scenario, you got XP for your coaching staff, not your players, your coaching staff. But you'd have to go into scenarios for the practice, which is what teams do in real life. Our practice now is just go in there, we run whatever the hell play we want versus whatever defense we want, and that's it. There's no goal objective to going into practice. There's none. There's no.
As long as you get that gold little medal, EA medal, you get in your mini games and get your boosts.
That's mini games. So your practice isn't a team practice. It's you have 3 mini games that you do with individual players that's it. But team practice with a team goal, practicing on scenarios, whatever, that's non-existent in the game. It used to be in the game. It used to be in Madden 25. It used to be in Madden 15. They got to get rid of XP based progression, man. I prefer the letter grade potential
Like in 2K,
that
right?
like in 2K, but
Yep.
they also used to have it in Madden.
They did.
They used to have it in Madden, and it was more. They had a pretty good boomer bust in there too. Like you could have a guy who had an A potential, but that didn't mean like every single year he was just going to skyrocket. Sometimes it would wait a little bit and he'd go like,
And then
and the potentials would change a little bit too, and it had a lot more randomness to it, and you weren't trying to force guys onto the field to play so they get better and like they perform. So now they're better, and it's like it just makes no sense, man. You don't. I don't know. I could talk about it for hours.
Oh
but
no,
it's
no,
just weird that it goes
I'm
to
all
this
for
point.
listening. Like I agree. So
Yeah.
okay, so do you remember drive goals? Do
Stupid.
you remember that?
I turn them off.
You don't like drive goals?
I'm pretty sure the goal of every drive in the NFL is to score some sort of points.
Right.
But that was the goal in Madden. Oh, your drive goal is to get a first down. Your drive goal is to get
Hold the ball for 2 minutes or get this guy.
No.
Yeah.
No. So you could literally, yes, great point. You could literally throw a touchdown on the very first play, score 6 points, 7 points after the extra point, but fail your drive goal because that
And it would
wasn't
negatively
goal.
affect your players. Like it would
Yeah.
negatively affect you. Like it didn't matter if you won by 40. If you didn't hit enough drive goals, your morale would be low. The way your team played would be different. Like I
really think, yeah.
Wait, no, go
Sorry,
ahead.
continue.
No, go.
I'd say I really think people who go with these ideas didn't play a lick of football in their entire life or have very little understanding of football. I think they enjoy football. I think they enjoy watching football. And I think they play fantasy football and things like that. But do they actually understand football? I really don't think they do. And we have Clint in there who played football at Colorado. He played professionally for a short amount of time. So, which is even a feat in itself because it's a very tough thing to do. And we still have this bullshit in the game.
It's
Like, how does Clint-
consumers buying it, man.
How does Clint look at this stuff as a collegiate D1 player for a professional athlete and be like, yeah, I remember when I was playing with the Washington Redskins, which is what they were called at the time. So,
I know I'm a Washington fan.
yeah. So I remember when I played for the Washington Redskins, our coach would send us out there and be like, all right, guys, make sure you get a first down this drive. Doesn't matter if we score any points, but we got to get this first down. Or, all right, guys, we gotta get a 20-yard completion on this drive. Like, come on. No, every single drive, score a touchdown, kick a field goal, do something.
So what I got from this whole thing, the magic wand question was two biggest things was get rid of frostbite and get rid of the XP. Right, that's your two. Like if you could get rid of
if they can incorporate real time physics with frostbite, I don't care if they keep the engine.
Which they can.
I don't.
Have you seen FC gameplay with hypermotion? Have you seen it? They can. No. They can. It's proven with hypermotion. That's going to lead into some stuff later, but that's what I'm thinking they're going with NCAA. That's why I think they took the couple years off to include hypermotion into that title to make it different from how Madden is played. Because if you go back and play the FIFAs before hypermotion and you play with now hypermotion in FIFA, it's completely different. It's a night and day difference. So that leads me to this question. So you follow Maximum Football and all this other stuff with the real-time physics engine, with the Unreal and all that stuff. So you're thinking that's the next big step for sports games. Like we can talk about the abilities and how the XP path is all day, but until they implement real-time physics and all of this stuff,
real-time physics, that's what's crazy, man. You said that's the new thing. What's crazy is we had real-time physics in the game 10 years ago. And they abandoned it because they didn't want to stick with it because of just there were challenges, right? I don't know if it was money, because Madden's continued to make more money, especially with MUT. Remember, MUT got started and it started to grow and grow and grow. So I don't know if it's MUT, and I don't necessarily think MUT grew more because of the switch to Frostbite than it would have if they just stayed with Ignite. I know they were issues with um I know there was issues with like the ragdoll physics, like post play and stuff like that, and they're trying to clean that up. But they made improvements every single year. And they abandoned what was giving us some of the best gameplay and they went more animation based,
Yep.
which is
Yes, they did.
horrible. And so now we're finally getting a company, like you said, in Maximum that's bringing us back to real time physics, and we got the technology to do it. Unreal
God.
Engine 5, which I believe, I mean, there was Unreal Engine. Was it? It was 4. 4 was out when Madden made the leap to Frostbite.
Oh yes, sir. It
So
was. Yep.
yes, but they weren't using Unreal Engine 4. But now we have 5,
And
and
physics
so
in Ignite. They didn't have to go get another engine. They already had physics engine.
right.
They already had it. They
And
had
I
it.
think the reason NCAA 14 is so revered isn't because it's necessarily the last college football game, but because of the fact that it had real time physics, it played really, really great out the box. It had its issues like any game, of course. But then with what they've been able to do to tune under the hood with Revamped,
Oh man.
it's you're getting a really solid game of football.
Reason why EA hired some of their team to come work on the new game. There's a
Did they
reason they
really? I
did
didn't
that.
know that.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did. They hired a handful of them, if not all of them. I'm don't track me, but it's definitely a big group of them. They brought them in.
Mhm.
That's why development for that's really kind of slowed down. Is because they brought some of those guys in. But
Gotcha.
I'm gonna spin the conversation just real quick. But I'm
Mhm.
gonna leave you with some info here. Just so and we're talking about MLB, how the slow progression of that is, and you say you don't think Mutt was the reason that they switched. But Diamond Dynasty started like 3 years ago, I want to say, 4 years ago. And ever
Mhm.
since then, we have really gotten a decline of single player and franchise. So
Yep.
those modes, whether people want to accept it or not, affect the franchise and the single player experience. Period. I don't
100%.
I don't care what anybody tries to tell me. They're gonna go make their
And
money, and I get that.
yep.
But
And the one thing I'll say about MLB The Show is Diamond Dynasty of the
of the
between
core,
Madden and
yep,
2K of the core is the most fair that you
free.
can play without spending any money.
I will agree with that. I will give them that. I'm not here to like make people
Nope.
feel bad for playing Mud or make people feel bad for playing Diamond Dynasty. I'm just saying from people that like us that are really franchise guys, whether it's online or
Mhm.
offline, it really does affect us. So I'm
Yes.
gonna spin the conversation to 2K real quick. So
Okay.
you know how I asked the magic wand? So your love
Yes.
for 2K is very clear. So what changes would you make for the next game?
Wait, what'd you say with before that? My what with 2K is very clear?
Your love of 2K is clear. Like I can see it,
Oh,
the how much passion you are about it. Like the way
it's
you talk
dwindling.
about the game.
Yeah, I'm
It
passionate,
is.
but my magic wand, um, it's all going to be my NBA, and it all ties to it's so connected. And it's so frustrating for me because Mike Stauffer does the ratings, and he got his start in Operation Sports when he dropped his edited roster for 2K12, and he dropped it on. He took 2K's base roster and edited everything, and dropped it, and it was just a superb success. Like millions of views. He got articles written about him all over the place, and 2K ended up hiring him because of how well he did his roster back in 2K12. And he was hired to bring that into 2K, which he did for the first couple of years. And then he started falling victim to what had already been being done in 2K before he got there, which has become lazy. And they added in that intangible rating, let's we know is just an oh, we put the ratings in for the player that we think they should have, and their overall's too low. So we want to have their overall be more reflective of what we think they should be. So we're just going to put on that intangible slider, which can plus or minus the player's overall by 5, depending on where it's at. So it has a huge, it's worthless. It does nothing in the game. Um, but bigger than that is the roster inflation that man has done to the game over the last 5, 6 2Ks. Man, I remember going back. I was working on my league sliders for 2K17, and the issue has always been uh, the way he has progression in the game. Players regress and inflate way more than their regression. So keeping balance is really tough. And so I can throw out these numbers to you because of how many hours I worked, and I know for a fact that in 2K17, in the 2K roster, if you counted every single player that was rated between 80 to 99 overall, there were 63 of them in the base roster. Guess how many there are in 2K24?
Over 100 something.
It's over 100. Why?
You know why?
Why do we need to have almost twice as many? It's 128, I believe. Why do we need to have almost twice as many players from 2K17 to 2K24 be rated between 80 and 99?
You know why?
I know why. And the thing is, it wouldn't be a big deal if he then go in and adjust contracts, right? Because the game is set up, even with sliders, but if you could just do it, run it at default, 2K, how 2K gives it to you default, and you simulate on 2K default rosters, and you simulate a year, and you go look, you have your 128, I believe, players rated 80 to 99. Well, after you get the rookie class in there and everyone progresses at the default, don't touch anything, level, that number inflates to like 150, 160. And then you do another year and you simulate. Now you're up over 200 players rated between 80 and 99. And then what happens is you have a free agent pool full of players rated 80 and 80, 84, 83. You have a whole team worth of players rated 80 overall sitting in the free agent pool because teams don't have money. Because there's the players that are rated that way think they need to have a certain amount of money, which they haven't adjusted that. They haven't adjusted, okay, if 80s are going to be super common now, which they used to be like, oh my God, he's an 80 overall, right? If 80s are going to be common, players now, right? Then they can't be asking for the same amount, the money that you have them asking for. Their value is diminished. So now you have to increase it to where, 80 to 86 isn't that special, but maybe 87 to 99 is special. And those are the guys that are asking for a lot more money and stuff like that. But they don't do that. And so there's no way, even with tweaking it, and I've spent hours upon hours upon hours, there's no way to get the balance to get the players asking for the right amount of money based on their age and their rating, because those two things go hand in hand. Because obviously you have an older guy, 35, 36, on the decline of his career, who's still in the upper 80s on the way down. He's not going to get the same kind of contract that a guy who's like 24 in his 80s on the up and up. You know what I mean? 2K doesn't have that in there. So the biggest problem with the game right now is roster inflation and how it impacts contracts in the offseason. I wouldn't care so much about the roster inflation if he would go ahead and fix how it worked with contracts. But I should change that. I do care, because there's no reason we should have 128 players. If you're going to rate a player, like if you're going to rate the league to have 120 players be rated between 80 to 99 overall, okay, fine. Keep the balance though. Have it set up so that when you're 5 or 6 years into the league, you're still going to have that 80, plus or minus a little bit, but that 80, 99 overall range is going to be around 120 players with
Not
a little
insane
bit of
growth. You don't want
But no
insane
matter
growth.
what, it just goes up. It goes up. It goes up. It goes up. It goes up. There's no testing done. There's no balance done. There's no anything done. You can tell they don't put any effort into it. They don't test it. They don't look at it. And you can tell when I go in and I edit. I do global tendency edits. You can tell there's no effort given to players' tendencies, because you'll have all these players with the exact same tendency for so many things, and they're completely different positions. There's no effort being given to player tendencies to change how they play and move on the court. And there's certainly no effort being put into how your MyNBA is going to be able to function with contracts and player progression. And it takes the fun out of it, because like, what's the most common MyNBA style video that you see on YouTube? Rebuilds.
Oh yeah,
right?
like long ones, like 5 to 10 year ones off rip.
But it doesn't take long. It doesn't take you 5 to 10 years to do that if you use 2K default with their settings, because in 2 years you have enough players that
You can go win a
think about it.
championship.
Off base, right? You have 30 NBA teams, five players start for each. So that's 150 players, right? 150 players start in the NBA. And 2K has to where there's 120 something. So you have like 27 of the 30 teams have a starting five where it's all 80s or better. But we got teams like the Wizards and Detroit Pistons and San Antonio Spurs who can't even 8 wins, 8 and 40, 10, you know what I mean? Like ridiculous. Clearly the talent isn't that good.
That's what I was gonna say. Even like, because everybody says, well, the players are better now. There's more talent throughout the league, and I'm just like, not really. There are some powerhouse teams, which there's always been powerhouse teams, but there's no way in the world there's that many 80s to 90 or 99 overalls. I remember back in the day, like there weren't even 99 overalls. Man, you remember that? Like, you know how rare it was to be a 99 overall, like a Kobe
Very
or
rare.
Shaq or a Michael Jordan or whatever. It was very rare. Most time you see them, the highest you go is maybe 93 to 95, and that's pushing. That's
And
really
to
pushing.
and to everyone saying, "Oh, the talent's better in the NBA now." Ah, really? Well, the NBA competition committee just came out today, said they're going to look at ways to, because they've created a game that favors the offense way too much, and they need to go ahead and maybe revert and make some changes that bring defense back into the game. There's a reason all these guys that played in the 2000s, right? The 2000, 90s and 2000s, and their careers around 2012, 2013, 2014, that era, like AI, Shaq, I saw them talking.
Kevin
Paul
Garnett
Pierce,
on
Kevin
it.
Garnett.
Paul
Yeah, all
Pierce.
those guys are saying, bro, there's no defense in today's league. Yes, these guys are scoring, but there's no defense. There's no effort on defense. They're not trying. So are these guys really that much better? Or is it they're getting these shots off and making these plays because no one's trying on defense? The game is literally turned into come down, huck threes, get free throws, and whoever can score the most points doing that wins the game. There's no execution. There's no running plays. It's not. Mark Jackson said it best, man. What happened to the game I love?
The best quote that I've heard. You remember that stretch where Luka and somebody else scored 70 plus points? It was Joel
Yep.
Embiid and Luka, right? And then somebody asked Luka verbatim, was it hard scoring 70 points in the NBA? No. And he returned was like, it would have been harder for me scoring 70 points in the European League.
He's 100% said, he's come out several times and said it's harder to score 30 points in the Europe League than it is in the NBA.
And that's wild. Think about the talent pool between the two. Really.
It's because of the rules, man. They changed all these rules because they thought that if they had scoring go up, it'd increase their viewership. But they've ended up watering down the gameplay to the point that people don't want to watch because they're like, this isn't skill. Traveling is just common now. You used to be 2 steps. Now you get 3 steps in a gather. What the hell is a gather? Nobody really knows. It looks like a travel, but apparently it's not a travel. And so you're able to take 4 steps now and do all these things. They don't call traveling. Call they don't call a lot of things they need to call. The players just come down. The offensive players can push off. Defensive players can't hand check. They can't get your hands on them. Can't do anything. You can't touch them without them being called. So your only hope is to you literally have to guard people with your hands behind your back, like you used to make you do in drills and practice to move your feet. Like they've watered down the game and how it has to be played so much. Now they're at this point where it's like, maybe we didn't have to do all this to get our ratings up. Maybe we should just let the game continue to thrive and let our superstars bring people in like it was. And no, now they're in a tough situation because they know. Look what happens to the All-Star game, man. The All-Star game did not used to be like this.
It's a joke.
The All-Star game did not used to be like this.
At least the NFL realized what they were doing. Because you remember NFL was doing the same thing. And they're almost just as bad, but they're trying to course correct where they wouldn't allow people to play defense, but offense was taking over the game. But now they're realizing now that if they have it way, way offensively, you're going to lose every defensive guy. And believe it or not, there's quite a few people that love defense in basketball and in football. So, especially if you lose your stars. Like, think about if Shaq just woke up one day and was like, you know what? I don't want to be associated with this anymore. Or Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, or any of those legends. It's like, no, I don't even want to. It hurts the game in the long run. It's hurting the game. It's gutting it. But, so you're saying your biggest thing would be roster and tendency.
Roster balance. So roster balance needs to be key. So if for whatever reason they think that they need to have that many high rated players in the
Ridiculous.
game, which again is ridiculous. But if that's what they think, okay, but have your progression and regression system set up so that it maintains that number for 5, 10 years down the road, however long people go, right? Have it, it has to be balanced in there. And number two, fix your damn contracts. So people ask for the right amount of wasted so CPU teams sign players realistically, and you don't have really top rated players sitting in the free agency pool strictly because CPU teams don't know how to manage their money. Guys are asking for too much money that teams can't afford, and so they're just sitting there unsigned
I have noticed
because
that
they're
too.
so good. It's you have to. That's why I do my rated roster. So I don't touch attributes. I do global tendencies to make players play more like NBA players. But as far as attributes go, I don't touch the attributes that 2K gives the players other than the intangible, right? I've already stated intangible is just a ratings uh, multiplier, that just makes things look good or whatever. So I just nerf everyone in the league's intangible rating down to 25. Uh, and that's their real rating. If you nerf a player down to 25, that's their real rating based on what 2K gives them. And it's going to be really, really low compared to what people find aesthetically pleasing. So that's why I then boost the top 10 players in the league back up to 99. And then I do the next 5 top rated players to 75, the next 15 up to 50. So you have that steady top rated 90 player elite talent, then you have your upper 80s, and you have your mid 80s. And by doing that, I have created a roster talent wise that sits around 68 to 70 players rated between 80 and 99. And that's something that's easy to maintain year over year over year just by removing intangibles.
That's pretty amazing. That's a whole lot of work because I know that's the biggest because I watch YouTubers and that's their biggest complaint when they do my NBA is the tendencies. It's not even the rosters what you were talking about. It is literally the tendency the players don't play how they're supposed to play. So and it's wild. Like I understand people like, well, we're gonna focus on this game, this part of the game. That makes you're gonna implement all of these things and give us the mode itself. At least have the mode work correctly. That's
Mhm.
all anybody would ever want, right? In my mind, I don't need a whole 20,000 feature list. I just like the game mode to work the way it's supposed to, in my mind.
Right?
So, well, let's flip the script back to the football part because somebody told me, and it looks like you're real passionate about the older football game. Myself, Madden 25 is my favorite. It's not even close. Not a competition. So,
Mhm.
what would you say is your favorite? This is a two-parter. And what features things you would bring from that game to the current?
Oh, that's tough, man. So
Take your time. I ain't in a rush.
yeah. So I'm gonna have to have two answers on that.
Go ahead.
So because as big as I am on, and obviously gameplay is very important, and your franchise experience is extremely important. But then your immersion you get when playing the game is extremely important. And so for me, presentation wise, Madden 25, Madden 15, Madden 25, they take the cake. Presentation wise, your immersion on the field, you had two, real life play callers, Jim Nance, Phil Sims, who worked together. The replays actually were lifelike and realistic, not like we have now. You get replay angles that you never see in real life. The commentary from the replay makes so much more sense, and it looks like you're playing a real game. Honestly, it does. Um, or sorry, it looks like you were watching a real game. So from the immersion standpoint, the weather was great. So from the immersion presentation standpoint, Madden 25, Madden 15, they take the cake. From the franchise side of things, uh,
It's hard, I know. Trust me, because all three of them are really good.
from the franchise side of things, you got to go like Madden 05, man.
Ooh,
Uh,
that's way back. Okay.
yeah, well, yeah, Tony Bruno show. So the thing is I would have said Madden 10 because for me, Madden 10 was like the best gameplay of any Madden.
Okay.
Madden 10. I think that Madden 15, 16 is right there gameplay wise too. Um, but I think Madden 10 was just a little bit more. We had Ian Cummings working on that game, and I think it was just a little bit more polished than what they were able to get. And then you have like the major issues of Madden 15 that they could never fix was like the screen passes did not work, and they could never fix it. You try to drop it, you try to run a screen Madden 15, you're getting sacked. Um,
You think that's got a lot to do with Madden still being a part? I think he was in 2010. Didn't he still have his hand on it a little bit in 2010?
they would just be like, hey, this is what this is. Oh, okay, cool. Like he's 8 years old, he didn't care.
Okay.
No. Um, Madden 16 was the aggressive catch issue,
Oh
which we know
God,
about.
no.
Those are two things that hold back 16 and 15 compared to 25. I think 25 was the most balanced of the three gameplay wise. So I think between 25, but 25 was also like their first next gen game with the real time physics and stuff. And so you see some of the issues that they had there. So I think polished gameplay wise, I think you got to go Madden 10. Um, and then you still had in Madden 10, you still had the full create a stadium, create your
Team, everything,
teams.
wasn't it? Yep.
You had all that stuff, and I believe you had the NFL show. They had they were trying to replicate what 2K did with Chris Berman, but they actually had like what was it called, the Extra Point show?
Yes. Yep.
Madden had the Extra Point show. So you didn't have the 22 show, but you had the Extra Point show and stuff like that. And so I think gameplay wise and franchise wise, it's 100% Madden 10, but presentation wise, it's Madden 25, 15, 16, any of the three. And what I'd wish would be honestly that they'd go back to real time physics and they'd take everything from NFL head coach and just throw it in.
It just baffles me that they have all these assets like they just got rid of. And the thing that gets me, and you'll agree with this probably, is like they just bring back old features and call them new. I'm like, well, if you're gonna bring back old features and call them new, bring them all back, man. Bring them all back. Let me get some stuff from NFL Coach. Let me get some stuff from Madden 10. Let me bring the CBS presentation from Madden 25. Like, dude, I played it the other day to get prepared for this interview because I really know what I was talking about. And just letting the intro run, man, where it comes in with the little 3D stadium and the way it comes down, the music, how it cuts to Phil Simms and Jim Nance, the way they talk, like the way when a quarterback walks on the field and it shows like actual gameplay in the little box with their stats. Like dude, like I can't even tell you how hyped that gets me just seeing it.
Yeah,
You don't see any of it now.
100%.
None of it.
The one now is so arcadish, so unrealistic. It's not anything like what you see on TV. I hate it. I hate it.
Honestly,
It's not realistic.
they have confirmed that they're bringing multiple presentation stuff with
Yeah,
this next
we
one.
well, I didn't know presentation styles. I knew we'd have multiple commentary crews, but
Yeah,
I didn't
that's
know about multiple presentation
that's
styles.
what the leak was. That's what everybody's covered is multiple presentation styles. So I'm wondering if they're actually going to kick the can down the road and break out the Sports Center. We're going to get Prime, or we're going to get Thursday night, or we're going to get all those different types of not just commentators now. You can give me commentators, but if you give me that same boring presentation that you got, it's going to help it. But at the end of the day, that's just people talking. Because 2K's done different commentators for a while. They even switch them in sometimes specialty. Like they'll bring Shaq and have him in for a half or whatever. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, as I say, speaking of what you were saying though, what irks me even more is that they would give features to Ultimate Team that would have been fantastic for franchise. It wouldn't do it. Like team chemistry in Ultimate Team. Why the heck was that not in franchise? Because that's a real thing.
Not only that,
You have
schemes.
your wide receiver and quarterback chemistry. They talk about it all the time. Whenever a team gets a new quarterback or a new wide receiver, they talk about their chemistry and how to earn that chemistry. They practice, they throw, all that stuff. So you bring in chemistry for several different positions, right? You have your offensive line chemistry. Why do they think commentators always emphasize how many different starting offensive line groups a team has had?
Rotate.
Right?
Rotate,
Yes, because you get the same unit in there, you have stability, they learn what the other person's doing, and they build that chemistry. You have an offensive starting unit they all start together consistently. They're going to be better than a team where you're shuffling guys in and out naturally. Even if the ratings were the same, right? But you have your you have different chemistry levels. You have your defensive secondaries chemistry, right? Because that's how you get breakdown in coverages because guys think that one guy's doing something and the other guy's doing something, right? And they don't do it right. Well, when you have a unit where you have strong defensive chemistry,
That's been playing
they
together for a
have
little
those
while. Know
right?
each
That
other.
those breakdowns don't happen as much. And so it's like bring in chemistry, bring it in for various parts, your wide receiver, quarterback chemistry, your offensive line chemistry, your excuse me, your defensive end chemistry. Like bring those things in, bring back Madden 15 had positional coaches.
Yep. That's another
Positional
thing.
coaches.
I'm gonna tell you something. You probably know this, but do you know there's an ability in your coaching tree that allows everybody to fit your scheme? No matter if the player is 4-3 or 3-4 or whatever, nickel and dime, you can hit a button and throw all that out the window. You can't
Well,
build a
schemes need
system,
to be
none of that.
schemes are a joke how they are right now anyway compared to 25 or 15 where they had schemes right where you could then say okay I want my wide receiver one I want to be a possession receiver my wide receiver two I want them to be a route runner my wide receiver three I want them to be um a vertical threat right now it's like if you decide you want to run a vertical zone run all of your wide receiver scheme becomes deep threat so if you get a slot guy or a physical wide receiver or whatever the case, well, because you run vertical zone run,
They all got to
that
be
means that
deep threat.
unless they all got to be deep threat because that's what teams do. They put all deep threats on their team. They don't go and get a slot guy. We've never heard of slot guys before, right? We've never heard of Wes Wellikers and Randall Cobbs and um, all these little guys that are slot guys. We've
Santana
never heard of
Moss,
them. Yes,
dude. Like, I mean,
it just like and we've never heard of big physical wide receivers, right? So you're telling me the Eagles have Devontae Smith, who's a burner, vertical threat, and AJ Brown, who's a physical wide receiver, but only one of them can fit the scheme that the Eagles are running because there's no scheme built
they can
into
allow
Madden
both.
where you that can allow both. That's just the logic.
None.
Where?
No logic.
How?
None, man.
It's-
It baffles me. I don't understand. I don't know where we got lost at. It's just a whole conversation. That could be a whole day conversation, really, with a group of gamers like us. We could talk about it forever, and it just makes us so frustrated. But I'm gonna take a
I
step
mean,
back. Okay, go
yeah,
ahead. No, go ahead.
I was gonna say if you're not going to continually add new features to franchise like the ones we used to have. Okay, but at least make what we have realistic. So XP based progression has to go. Schemes has to be redone. Badges, superstar abilities have to be realistic. Um, you know, practices needs to mean something, needs to have an impact. Coaching talent trees honestly need to be reworked. Again, make it realistic. Like if that's all we're gonna have, and you're not really gonna invest a lot of resources in bringing in a lot of the other stuff that we used to have with older Maddens.
The depth.
Okay, the depth. Okay, fine, but give us this stuff in a way that actually functions realistically, not this arcadey presentation of these features that we have now.
I don't get it. Just build. I'm with you. Just build on what we have. Like if, all right, so just strip it down to what you got. If you don't want to add stuff to it, that's fine. But just make the, fill it up. Make it matter. Give us positional coaches. Make our coaching trees matter. Make a scheme matter.
Mhm.
Make me being in a small market matter. It doesn't. None of that matter. None
Yep.
of it. Stadium. None of the stuff matters anymore. And just say it
Nope.
truthfully. But
That's the thing too. Dynamic, the home field advantage stuff. Fantastic idea, horribly implemented because guess what they did with
it's
it?
broken.
They made it arcade. No, they made it arcadish. They made it for Ultimate Team. So you have home field and Ultimate Team, and so they made again absolutes that make no sense. They could really go through and get realistic things for their home
Home
field
grounds.
advantages, but but they don't like the ones. I don't know. There's just so many that aren't right. I really like the ones where okay, you're playing in Denver. I think if you're playing in Denver, your stamina reduces obviously for the altitude. I think the same could be said for down in Florida with the hot humidity.
The Pittsburgh Steelers one is awesome with the towels. Like that's really cool.
Yep,
Um,
and I think the ones where like you have the squiggly lines and
Seattle 12.
um
Like when you play in
yeah,
Seattle, how loud it
stuff
gets.
like that. I think having a little bit slower movement on fields like in Lambeau, Chicago, and in Washington, okay, those are good. But they've got a ton of unrealistic ones too that are just randomly generated every single game. I think every single stadium should have the same, not just the same like full on home field advantage ability, but the two minimum ones need to be there too. But they're just two random ones that just get generated every single game, just out of a pull from a hat. Oh, okay, you have a little bit of home field advantage. You're going to get this game. You're going to get this game, and it's just like, no,
Yeah, I know. They
there
did.
shouldn't be two. There shouldn't be two small ones. There should just be the one thing. And when you have that meter full, that's what you get.
Yeah, I don't like the little progression tag. You get this bump and then this bump, and then you get the final good one. I'm not with it.
Mm-hmm.
But let's take a step back from the game just a second. And I see the channel, the work you're putting into. Are there any big plans this year coming down the pipeline? Anything you want to, like a goal you want to hit for 2024? Anything like that?
Yeah, man. I've been looking at that a lot. I've been very analytical looking at it. So I just hit 10K on Christmas.
Congratulations.
Subscribers. Thank you so much, man. It took me 4 years. It's a little over 4 years to hit 10K. It's a tough grind, man. Um, and I've been looking at things analytically, and 2K has always been the major driver of my channel, just views wise, right? Going back to 2K20, 2K21, which was it 2K21? Yeah, 2K21. Uh, because of COVID hitting, everyone started getting into video games, right? And they were looking up all this stuff. So 2K21, 2K22, 2K23 just dominated my channel views. 2K24 has done horrible. I don't
Game.
even have, for an example, my league, my NBA and my league setup video for 2K21 has 100,000 views. I've dropped 50 videos for 2K24 this year, and their combined views only 100,000. Last year, my 2K23 content did 227,000 views. So I'm down significantly in views. In 2K, where my views are coming from, because obviously I'm getting more views. My view numbers are up, my subscriber numbers are up. Everything's going up in my channel, but it's not from 2K. It's from Madden, which is extremely interesting to me. My Madden numbers are through the roof compared to any other year. I mean, I have more Madden views this year than I have 2K views, and I'll probably so for example, last year I did, what was it, 120 I think thousand in Madden. I'm at 175 now, and I still got 5 months to go. Where people
Got the combine
draft,
coming right now.
the
You got
combine,
draft.
combine and draft, people always pick it back up, man. They're always looking for stuff. And my stuff's been sitting there. My slider video that I dropped in January has been doing absurd numbers. Like for me, it's been crazy. And so looking at the analytical things of my 2K content, the my NBA sliders that I put out, the setups and sliders, the gameplay sliders, the rotation, the playoff sliders, the movement sliders, all the different facets of the game I put out, tell people what their my NBA experiences, and the views are just not there. But Madden, the views are just crazy. And I don't know if it's because people are upset with 2K or there's just starting to become a lot of people putting out that content in 2K. I don't know what it is, but football seems to be where it's at right now. So as far as a goal, my initial goal was like, okay, I think I could hit 15,000 by the end of the year. That's, 5,000 subs, based on the pace that I'm doing right now. But then I'm looking at it like, okay, my Madden content's still doing really, really good. And we got Maximum coming out. And we got
big one.
college
There's
football
one more.
coming out.
Hmm.
They're both of them are big.
Mm-hmm.
And if my Madden 24 content's doing this good, what's my Madden 20, whatever they call it?
Madden.
My Madden football. I think they're just going to call it Madden football.
Me too. That's what I think.
I think that's the perfect name for it, Madden football. I think it's the perfect name for it. So, but I mean, if the, I don't know, we'll see. My goal is still to go to 15,000 because that'd be a 5,000 subscriber increase year over year, which is would be by far the biggest jump I've ever had. Typically, my biggest jump I think was 2,500. So if I can do 5,000 subs year over year, that'd be insane. Although I'm being very optimistic about what Maximum and EA College Football are going to do for me because I think that it could be even bigger. There's gonna be a lot of people that get EA College Football that haven't been getting Madden, so they haven't been looking up for sliders and settings and stuff like that. To be a whole different uh, group of people that are going to be researching. And although there's going to be a lot of competition in the market for sliders, now that my channel has at least enough sliders or subscriber recognition, people, it's a weird thing. I can't judge people for it because I do it too. But when I'm looking for content for a game, if I see something from somebody who doesn't have a lot of subs, I really I look for the ones with this big views, right?
The most
Because
popular. Right.
I associate big views with good. And it's not always the case. Um, and so I try to be better about watching views from channels with less views or less subs. But I think it's just normal for us to just naturally be like, well, the person with the most subscribers and the most views is going to have the best stuff. That's not true, but I think that's just how we associate it. And so I do think that hopefully because I now have this number of 10K next to my name or whatever it'll be whenever will be hopefully enough subscribers for people to click on my stuff when they haven't in the past, for Maximum and for EA College Football. And I just my hope is that Maximum releases sooner than I think they will, so I can really get some time into it and create good content for it. Uh, because I want to be able to create good content for Maximum, but at the same time, realistically, if those two games overlap, I have to put my resources in EA College Football because that's going to be
Well, that's your tie to Madden, right? It just makes sense.
yes, yes. Um, and we don't know how well Maximum's going to do off rip. Yes, it's going to be free, but we don't know a lot of these things, and so I really I think that Maximum's going to launch around May, but I really hope that they launch like beginning of April, like around the AFL, XFL, whatever they call that league now.
Best of it.
I think I think that'd be perfect for them. But it'd also give me April, May, and June, and however long in January to create content for them without having to worry about competition. Because then I have to ramp up into college football, and I got to go hard on college football, and then Madden drops, and I go hard. You know what I mean? So it's like
It's a double whammy.
it's a double whammy, college football and Madden, because they only give about 6-7 weeks apart. And if Maximum does the same thing, where I don't have much of a time frame there, it's my summertime too, which is ironically the only nice months of the year in North Dakota. So it's like you don't want to spend a ton of time inside either. So it's like, you have to maximize your time as much as you can. So I'm really just I'm excited for Maximum Football, but I'm also worried about the release time frame, that it's going to be too close to college football for me to put out good content, and I don't want to miss my opportunity with them. But at the same time, I cannot sacrifice my opportunity with EA College Football just because we know that's going to do numbers.
Here's the thing. Speaking from a Maximum, if you're worried about the overlapping and all this other stuff, just know Maximum Football is going to be wants to ramp up.
Yeah.
Right. Going to release in early access. Game's not going to be finalized. So if it does overlap, it's not the end of the world as far as you want to cover content. Where I see, right? Because obviously you have to do college football and Madden. Like that's your bread and butter. But I wouldn't even worry about the Maximum release. I know once you do get your hands on it, you justice. Like whenever you do get time to do that, I'm sure it's going to be great, 100%. And that leads me to my next question. You literally just segue right into it. So if we can talk about it, if you've thought about it at all, what is your plans with NCAA on the horizon? Do you have any things working up in the head, or you're just going to kind of wait a little bit and kind of see where the game lands?
Well, I don't we don't really know what we're gonna get with that game, right? We obviously know we're gonna get Dynasty mode, where they said it's gonna be a big factor. So that means I'm gonna have sliders. So I'll definitely get gameplay sliders. But then what we don't know is, are they gonna have, is their Dynasty mode gonna have something that I can create content for, like a video for? Like right now I have a Madden franchise sliders and settings video, right? Because in Madden franchise you have a ton of customization options. You have XP sliders, um, you have progression sliders that people need that information for. So I'm able to create a video for franchise in Madden for the settings that I recommend that you use. I give the XP sliders, progression, regression sliders, things like that. That's a whole separate video. So NCAA 14 didn't really have anything like that. You had a couple selections you could do as far as recruiting difficulty and blah blah blah. Nothing that really worked that was like worthy of a whole extra video. So my thing is going to be like, I'm very curious. Excuse me. If if there's gonna be things in that game customization wise that allow me to create multiple videos for settings, recommended sliders, whatever, other than gameplay. Because if I'm limited to just gameplay information, that's gonna hurt me a little bit. I need to be able to pair it up with other things like I do in Madden. Like Madden this year, I have gameplay sliders, I have the franchise XP sliders and settings, I have the how to make kicking harder video because we know kicking's a joke.
Mhm.
Uh, I have the draft class simulator that I made for everybody. That's free because now we have a draft class difficulty simulator. So now you can go through and you can set the strength
Yeah,
of
of the
each
positions and
position.
yep.
But it's like, okay, so if you leave them all at normal, you're not going to get any variety. But then it's like, okay, how do you determine what's what, right? Like, so I created this little spin wheel thing where I have, normal in there, very strong, strong, normal, weak, very weak. And then all you do is you just go down the line and okay, start quarterback, spin the wheel. Whatever it comes up with, you click it. And that's how you get your draft clash, your positional strength. And people love it. And I thought, but I have a whole video on that. I did a top 10 teams to rebuild video, which doesn't do a lot of views, but it's still fun. But you can't do anything like that in NCAA football. You got 135 teams, it's different. I was able to do how to fix quarterback gameplay in Madden, uh, because the archetype system ruins quarterbacks in franchise. The quarterbacks play phenomenal in Play Now because in Play Now there's no archetypes.
True.
Archetypes only exist inside a franchise. I don't understand that. Why do archetypes only exist inside a franchise? Take out archetypes. They're stupid. They don't work right. So that's the other thing is NCAA going to have archetypes? And if so, are they going to have issues? There's just a lot of question marks with what kind of content I'll be able to make for NCAA outside of gameplay sliders, where I do know what I'll be able to make for Madden, and then maximum I know I can. There's gonna, because they have college football in their settings and options, and they have NFL in there. You're able to create a video with like, all right, these are the best college settings, and these are the best NFL settings, and I don't know the extent of what's going to be in there for those and stuff like that, but I do know I'll be able to at least make that kind of content.
True. Well, I mean, I assumed when I asked you the question, it was going to be a whole lot of, I don't know yet, because you really don't know. Because it's
Yeah.
like you said, XP sliders, I don't know if they'll make an appearance because it's a 4-year thing. I don't, you really can't do like, gameplay is going to be there. We can say that right off the rip. Right? We can assume that they're going to have gameplay. But as far as your
Hmm.
XP sliders, your relocation stuff, all that stuff, that's all up in the air, right?
Hmm.
We don't know.
No, we don't know anything.
Yeah, so honestly, that's probably the best answer I was expecting to get is to wait and see because we still haven't even seen a lick of gameplay yet, much less inner
Yeah.
systems. So yeah, I get it, but it's good to know, and everybody out there knows that if it's possible to be covered, you will have it on your
Oh, I
because
am gonna do maximum. I'll do EA College Football. I'm gonna do Madden, and whenever ESG releases, if there's something I can do there, I'll do that too.
heck yeah, that's what I'm
Um,
talking about. Well, you
you
have
know,
to believe too, like they're gonna bring back the one of the features like draft class ones. You know how you can upload your class from that college to Madden. So I'm assuming they're gonna have all that stuff in the game. Again, this is all assumptions because we don't know.
Mhm.
But I would hope to see. All right,
I hope so. Yeah, yeah.
so I got a few more, and we'll let you get on up out of here.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
for sure.
so I'm gonna hit you with content creators. You could pick a few, any of them,
Mhm.
anybody. Who would you like to work with and why?
Any specific game
Doesn't matter.
or
Who just anybody. It could be gaming. It could be something completely off topic. Just some like a think tank idea. Like to get in a room and
yeah,
talk to.
yeah, yeah.
So
Well, okay, so for Madden and 2K, I would love to work with Tiko's Takori. He does content for both games. He's uh it'd be really cool to work with him because what he does for the games is completely different than what I do, but they could mesh together very, very well. For 2K, he does a lot of the edits on the roster as far as accessories and shoes and just things
and
like
tedious
that.
stuff.
The tedious stuff that I'm not good at and I don't really pay attention to. So like for me to be able to like put together my roster edits and then he goes and grabs it and does all his stuff to it and then we present it to the community as a whole, I think that'd be fantastic. So he's a big one as far as that is concerned. um the other people that it would be, you know, I don't really know how you, when you're making sliders it's really hard to do like a collab video. You can't really do a collab when you're working on sliders. Where you could do a collab would be some sort of like running a franchise or something like that. And so um I would love, we already talked about online leagues and stuff like that, but if you know you can get people who are going to play realistically, I would do it. Um, I would love to get into an online Madden league with some of the OGs. Like I know for a fact, if I got in with like Sim F Ball Critics, Smitty, Hollywood Sports, I know those guys wouldn't play win at all costs. They're going to play sim. They're going to play realistically like me. So I'd love to do stuff like it. I mean, there's only four of us right there that I dropped, but you get Azure Effect in there. I mean, you could definitely get a group of people that you know are going to play sim.
A
If you could
YouTube
find,
content creator league.
yeah, well, yeah, like yeah, something like well, not content creator because there's most of YouTube for Madden is
So I mean, so a
Ultimate Team.
sim content
Yeah, yeah,
creator league.
yeah, 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 yeah. So I think that'd be really, really fun. For me, partnerships are mostly like, hey, I make this gameplay. I mean, okay, so for example, a collab for me, an ideal collab for me would be like, all right, I have these Madden franchise sliders and settings. I have gameplay sliders. I would love it if a guy like Kurt Benkert, who's been killing it, would drop some video of him running franchise and he uses my stuff and he enjoys it and he tells people, oh, hey, if you're curious about the gameplay or whatever, I'm using Sim Gaming Network stuff. He's got me covered with my franchise sliders, the best XP sliders, the settings, the gameplay you're seeing straight from him, which is why the gameplay is so good, yada yada yada. So for me, that's kind of how a collab has to work with what I make. Is I make this stuff, and then another guy who presents it to people and gets way more views uses it. Like Bangle, he does
Angle
rebuilds.
and C4. Yeah, I got you.
Yep, Mr. Hurricane, the franchise
Franchise
guy.
guy. Yep.
If they were to find my stuff and then implement it in one of their videos and or there's whatever and say, all right, I'm collabing with Sim Gaming Network, this is all his stuff that he made, we're gonna put it through the ringer, we're gonna test out, we're gonna see how it goes, right? And they drop videos and they're playing it, and then those people see it. Like that's a collab for me, and that's kind of like a collab I have on 2K is PB the Plug uses my stuff, and he shots me out in all his videos, that he uses my NDA. So he uses my scenario that has my slider, my roster edits, the gameplay sliders, the MyNPA sliders and settings, the movement, the everything. He uses it all. He lets every single person know that he uses it. So that's a collab that I have right there. And he even had his cousin, um, Kenny, or I mean, Kenny Beecham that most people know from Through the Wire and watching 2K. He did a video using my sliders a couple years ago, and that blew up my channel quite a bit. Like I had some people come and subscribe, and they all said, "We're here from Kenny." Like I was like, no, I didn't. Like PB didn't even tell me he was doing that, and he did it. That was really really cool. So for me, collabs would have to be like that, where I make this specific kind of content, and then other creators who are specifically like doing rebuilds and dropping gameplay use my stuff and tell people they do it. So ideally, yeah, like Mr. Hurricane or that franchise guy. I don't know. Bengal does a lot of rebuilds. Like his videos are 2.5 hours long. There's typically not a lot of gameplay in there, so I don't know how realistically it would be for him to use it. Kurt Benkert would be amazing, not only because I'm a diehard Packers fan and he was with the Packers for a while, but because he tries to teach Madden to people and he's teaching it against. He knows the stuff, obviously, but to also he's teaching people against other users, but to do it against the CPU where it's a little bit different. Would be really cool to see him do that, and maybe he could get into the series a little bit. And then 2K, I already got PB, which is really really cool. Obviously, if Kenny used my stuff again and let people know, that'd be awesome. And there's not a lot of other like big my NBA guys in 2K right now. There's just not. All the 2K content creators are Mutt and in my career. You know what I mean?
There's one you named you didn't name that I watched a lot. Watch for you. Like he does.
Never heard of
him. Look him up when you get a chance. His name is Hoodie Sean. One word. He does like a GTA skits at his intros. They're hilarious. It's all my NBA stuff. But he even plays mod. He plays modded PC right now. That's where he's at right now. But he does a lot of my NBA and 2K career mode stuff. It's great. I love his channel. Him and Juice Man. Great.
Hoodie Sean, like just regular Hoodie.
Hoodie Sean.
Oh, he popped up right away. Hoodie Sean. Okay.
Yep.
He's got, oh my god, 1.23 million subscribers.
Oh yeah, bro. He's big. He's been around for a long time. Long time. But when you get a minute, just check him out. I'm sure you'll agree with me that he does pretty good stuff. If you like funny.
So I'm looking here. He does my career. I'm looking at his videos. My career. So he's my career guy.
It's all in my NBA. All of it. He doesn't play my career itself. He makes his guy, right, into my NBA stuff and player locks. So that's what he does.
Right. Okay.
Yes, sir. That's what he does. Pretty great. I like him. I like him a lot.
That's super cool. I'll subscribe to him and I'll watch some of his stuff.
But I hope somebody picks up the wave, man, and pushes you even further down the algorithm, because I know how much of a grind it is, and I know how hard you work. I was actually in your stream the other day, just watching the Denver Jaden Daniels stuff. So
that's right. Yeah. I remember.
Yep. So I know how hard you work, and I know how much of a grind it is from taking from another fellow YouTuber. It's an uphill battle sometimes. So
and that's what's it can get frustrating sometimes. I don't think a lot of people understand a lot of people got frustrated with me when I went to a membership program on YouTube for my sliders, and it's like they're like, oh, you're keeping them behind a paywall, and I'm like, it's 3 days. It's exclusive access. But I was like, the reason I have to do this is because even though a year ago I had 7,000 subscribers, a year ago before that I had 5,000. That's not a lot of people for YouTube. It's not. But in the 2K community, I had enough name recognition that people knew I'm just going to look up, at the time my gamer tag was Schneid1, look up Schneid1 stuff and I'm just going to download it without even watching my videos.
Just know it.
And so even though my subscribers were growing, my views were dropping. And you can see you're down. Like, people would just go download my stuff.
People from draft classes.
Same thing. Yeah, and it's like, I had to do a membership program to offset the lack of views because people just knew my gamer tag, and then I ended up changing my gamer tag, and now the only people who get my gamer tag are people who subscribe, are part of YouTube membership, and even if they only if they subscribe for 1 month, get the information they have for the rest of their life. Okay, well, that $2.99 that you paid for a month of membership is equivalent of like 500 views. So,
and watching the ads, that's the tricky part. They got to
skip it. So I was like, even it doesn't bother me. I was like, even if my views are down, that doesn't bother me because it helps offset the hours and hours and hours you put into it. And then people don't realize you watched my video the other day. So I streamed for an hour and a half. And then when I got done to stream, I edited that video. And then I uploaded it up on YouTube, where you edit the video down, present it in a way, create a thumbnail for it. You're putting in a lot of hours. People don't realize. So all in all, between the time that I streamed that and then editing it and then making the thumbnail and everything, I put in over 3 hours into that video. And obviously, not every single video I put out is gonna do numbers, you know what I mean? But the idea is to put in time and effort so you get more subscribers and stuff like that. And people don't realize that. So when you put in a ton of time playing Madden or 2K to test sliders and come up with the right stuff, and then you present it to people and they just don't even watch your video to get you that click, that view. They just want to do it, and then they get mad at you because I just don't understand. It's like, look, if you were watching my video and getting information in the first place, this never would have happened. Like, but when you gain subscribers but your views go down, like,
Yeah.
the math ain't mathing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, typically, if you're gaining subscribers, your views should be going up too. It shouldn't be gain subscribers, views going down because everyone knows your stuff. So I just had to do what I had to do, and so I was like, all right, membership program. Everybody gets all the sliders 3 days early. So whenever I launch gameplay slider or anything specifically, like a specific setup for something, it's a members only exclusive for 3 days. Just like games do now, you can get a game 3 days early access. You pay an extra $20. MLB's doing it, right? Madden does it. 2K does it.
All of them do
they
it,
all
I think,
do
to
it.
be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I was like, all right, $3. $3 they get 72 hours early access, and then after that it goes public. So if you don't want to wait the 3 days, become a member.
$3.
Like, it's $3. Not only do you get the early access, but anytime I'm working on stuff, I drop beta sliders. You get to test that. You get to provide feedback. Like, I did a members only YouTube stream last night for 2K. People get to come in and ask questions. We worked on Jordan sliders together, Kobe air sliders together, Jordan air sliders together. Like, there's more benefits and perks to memberships that I offer
just the
besides
3
just
day
early access.
Yeah.
Yeah,
A lot of people don't take the time to
so-
read that stuff. You said it best
No.
yourself. Like, people are like, well, if I have 10,000 subscribers, I should have a minimum 1,000, 2,000 views a hit. But you see it all the time, man. Like, there's people with 100, 200, 500K subscribers with like maybe 2K hits a view a video. You can have all the subs in the world, man, but if people ain't clicking on the video, then it don't
They're not
mean
clicking on the
nothing.
video.
Mean nothing.
And that's where I'm trying to figure out my channel, man. Because like I know, okay, my 2K slider, even though my 2K slider videos, all my 2K content is down in general this year, but I know my rotation video, my slider video, my NBA videos are always going to do decent numbers. Madden, I know my franchise settings video, my slider setup video, things like that are going to do numbers, right? But for me, it's trying to figure out what other content I can provide to people that's going to do numbers, because the rebuilds aren't really hitting. Like, I'm trying to do, like, I have my Charlotte Hornets rebuild that I'm trying to do, and I'm trying to do it a different style, more like what Pee Wee does. The numbers aren't there for that. And I'm trying to do this Denver Broncos rebuild where I posted on my YouTube community, like, hey, what would you guys like to see me do? I had like 100 people vote for me to do the Broncos, and then I dropped these videos and I like have 100 views. So it's like 1% are watching these videos that I'm putting in effort. So I got to figure out how to get more people interested into my series and stuff that I do, because I don't want to just be like someone who only drops sliders and settings videos and then you don't hear from me. I enjoy doing. I want to grow out of that box and do all of it.
I think personally, before I get to the last question, and I really do believe, since your Madden's hitting so hard, that college coming along is gonna make your whole. And here's why I think that. Not only are Madden and college tied, but also because it's college, it has been gone for over 10 years. They have all the 138 schools, 130, whatever.
134, something like that.
Yeah. But you got schools galore. You got the actual stadiums. You got the mascots. You got potential old Mo's coming back. You could even do something crazy with Road to Glory. Like, there's so many options that you're gonna have tying both of these games together. You can be creative. It's just a matter of time for you, man. It's a matter of like knowing what the game's gonna release, and that bubble. Because I'm gonna tell you right now, I don't know if you know who Tubby Light is, but he's blown up since high school's come out. He just soared it. I mean, he got an interview with Matt Brown, and ever since then he's just been
Wow.
zooming. So, dude, I'm telling you, it's just a matter of time. It's just you got to hit that window. You didn't expect Madden to hit, and like it is,
Mhm.
but it is. So I just think those two games working together, and then plus you got maximum. It's gonna be fly. But that leads me into the last
I hope
question
so.
for
Yeah, last question.
you. Who influenced you the most, and why? I end every one of my interviews like that. So who is that person? It can be multiple people. By
Inf
the way.
influences me in, like, what area?
Just
Like
just like as a role model in life. Like just like man, I'm gonna be good just like this person. I'm gonna have the work and the ethic and the drive just like uh he or she really inspired me to be a good person, work hard, and to reach my goals and to keep pushing
mhm.
like that. Like I guess what's
As I've gotten older, I'm 35 now. I turned 36 in April. As I've gotten older, and I don't know, maybe it's just me, maybe not. I think as you get older, you start to not necessarily gain inspiration from people so much because you're just like I'm already at that age, like, versus when you're younger, you kind of look up. But 35, you're not exactly young anymore. And of course, you typically have your people you look up to or whatever. But in the last couple of years, a person that I've really just grown really fond of as of the way they carry themselves. They're in the public eye. They're a star. Uh, the way they carry themselves off the field, they carry themselves on the field, obviously phenomenal. They're a star. And but the way they carry them off the way they carry themselves off the field is just so refreshing, man. Like they're such a good person down to their core. They've been through a lot, man. They've been through adversity. They've lost a parent. They've been through so much, man. And they are, despite the success, despite the fame, they are humble. They are polite. They are courteous. They're respectful. They just do amazing things for their community and for other people around them. And they're an amazing teammate. And that's Aaron Jones, running back for the Green Bay Packers, man.
AJ.
Like
Okay.
there's just you just don't see a lot of people like that anymore in the world who are just genuinely good to their core. And even though I'm older than him, I mean, I'm older than the guy. Um,
As am I.
to see someone in his spotlight be as successful as he has for a historic organization, and to go through what he went through with losing his father and things like that, and to just still carry himself with the utmost respect for every single person around him, to be just the teammate that he is, and to conduct himself the way he does is just, I think it should be an inspiration for everybody, whether you have fame and fortune or whether you don't. Like, carry yourself the way he carries himself, and good things are going to happen to you.
That's awesome, man. I didn't expect
Yeah.
that to go that way, but I kind of knew what kind of person he was when he remember when he lost his necklace piece, like a medallion piece,
Yes.
and it got back to
Yes.
him. You gotta think that happens to pretty much anybody else in the world. That thing's gone forever.
Yep.
Gone. But somebody made sure to find his way back to him because they knew what that necklace meant to him. So honestly, that's one of the coolest answers I've heard. It was pretty cool. I didn't expect you to go athlete, but that was awesome. Really cool. All right, well. Shoot, before we close the door, tell everybody where they can find you at, man, all your socials, all that good stuff.
All right. So my socials are super easy, man. It's Sim Gaming Network on YouTube, Sim Gaming Network on Twitch, Sim Gaming Network on TikTok, Sim Gaming Network on Twitter, and Sim Gaming Network in the Discord. So it's pretty easy. Discord's open. You can just join. I got a link for that on my Twitter bio. I got a link for it in my YouTube bio. But TikTok, we got little highlight videos there, and then of course I'll stream games live on Twitch, and then I'll upload them on YouTube. Uh, but I interact. I'm still, even though I have 10,000 subscribers, man, I still am small enough that I interact with every single comment that comes to one of my videos, whether I respond, like it, heart it, whatever. I interact with every single comment on any of my videos. So I like to do that. I like to make sure people know that they're heard and acknowledged by me. So I hope honestly there's a day where I can't keep up, but for now I can. So that's where you can find me. And we'd love to have you on the Sim Gaming Network family, man.
It's awesome. I ain't gonna lie to y'all. His Discord is awesome too, and he keeps it popping. He does reply to everybody. I can confirm to that. He does keep it popping in there. But I want to say thank you from the SG and Hub family, Sim Gaming Network family. We appreciate you having time out of your day to stick with us, man, and come talk to us. And I hope, and I'm gonna say this, I'm gonna future mark this. Once college football does drop and Maximum does drop, I'd love to have you back on to get your opinions raw. That'd be kind of
I
cool.
was just about to say we got to do this again when Maximum drops.
Let's do
for
it.
sure.
Let's do it. But thank everybody for watching. It was live. Appreciate you guys. Make sure to check him out. All links gonna be in the description. You know where to find this man. Until next time, guys. It's been Quasi91. Peace, everybody.